Hey, everybody on YouTube, what is going on? How are we? We have made it to midweek. Most of us have survived. America, you're looking beautiful tonight. I hope you remain beautiful because we kind of need you around, you know, so stay strong. The Republic is strong. Unless you traitorous people from 1776 want to come back to the Commonwealth, we are inviting you back, all right, without any type of treasonous warfare or anything like that. Please see the humor in it because we are trying to just kind of chill things out tonight. I want to remind everybody in our chat room, absolutely no politics tonight, guys. Let's give each other a break. It's been a pretty heavy day. All right, we don't need to work ourselves up, and this is a political free zone. I will remind you, every political comment will be erased. I'm not playing games tonight or for the next few nights. Let's give each other, all of us, a break on what's happened here and just kind of go from there. Rebs Baigent Shaw is our guest tonight. We're going to ask what it's like to be attacked by great white sharks in the Australian Ocean. Yes, it's kind of weird over there because the Pacific is on the east, and for all us regular people, it's on the west. So, anyways, we'll just go from there. But then again, no, I got that. Let's give a shout out to everybody here in our chat room so far. Commonwealth Andrew, good morning to you. Paul John Tavares, still no Stanley Cup. Dirty Filth, good to see you. Chris Reap, thanks for coming on in. Jessica McCreary, you're looking beautiful and gorgeous tonight. Signing autographs outside the studio on the right side will be Vinster tonight. Corns, the booking guy, will be signing on the left. Remember, they do accept dollar bills in their G-strings. Tiffany Weiss, you're looking lovely tonight. Thank you for joining us. Agravane, always a pleasure to have you back. Solar Warden, pleasure to see you again. As we scroll on down, Mary Bone, she's a vegetarian, Mary Bone. Good to have you back, Mary. Donnie Rowell, thank you for joining us. Human Carl is here, everyone. Human Carl, not to be mixed up with our alien friend Carl. This is Human Carl, a great American veteran. We love you, Human Carl. We'll give you a few claps because we love you, Human Carl. Rich Hilke, good to see you, man. Renee, you're looking stunning tonight. Persevere, always a pleasure. Jason, thanks for coming on in. Hey, Chris Jarvis, 416 Bitcoin. How's Toronto tonight? I get hives from your city because of all the Maple Leaf fans and Blue Jay fans. Steam Train Mark from Australia, please let us know how tomorrow is looking. Since you live in the future, please confirm if I am alive or not. Mark Ellens, good to have you here. Hey, Kevin, Richard Elmore, always a pleasure to have you here as well. And Overbuilt Automotive, good to have you here. And Greco, oppa to you, my friend. Brian, welcome to our chat room. Have a good time. Enjoy. Nick, what's going on? Nick to the N. And I think I may be caught up. Wow, that's kind of cool. That's really kind of cool. We're caught up so far. Lord of Land, good to have you. Hi, Rebs.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Since you are in Australia, could you please let us know if I am alive tomorrow?
I most certainly will. That's actually kind of funny. Who says you're alive now? Just kidding. Sorry.
I don't know. A middle child, good to have you here. Oh, there she is, everyone. She'll be signing autographs at the end of the show as well. We have the lovely and talented Kira. There she is. Make sure you give her a wave in the chat room. And Rebs refuses to confirm whether or not I'm alive tomorrow. And I'm kind of scared by that, to be honest.
I'm sorry.
Scaring the daylights out of me. Holy cow.
Well, you mentioned sharks, so now I thought, right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. There's the one with the poisonous everything in her garden.
Yeah.
The poisonous
so
everything.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Aliens visit here. Where are they? Where? Let me know. Let me know.
Behind you.
Wouldn't surprise me. You're quite psychic, aren't you?
I am.
So who's in my office every night?
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Yeah.
It's you. Sorry.
Besides me. Sometimes we get some weird stuff in here.
Yeah. So, in sincerity, you do have a man in your office right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it in about 30 seconds. How about that?
Okay.
All right. Final tweet has been sent out. And a good way to support this show, give us a thumbs up. Super Chat is open. Share it around social media. We want 15,000 subscribers by May 24th. That is my birthday, because it just sounds like a nice, round, wholesome number. We're going to go live here in about 5 seconds. So hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Lone Ranger, good to have you back, and let's do this thing right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out the Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Rebs Baigent Shaw is an international spiritual artist, soul rescue and clearance specialist, and the creator of the Circles of Ascension programs for the spiritual healing and arts. Circles of Ascension also specializes in event management and other really cool things dealing with everything to do with the Zen and Chi that all of us want to try and live to. Why not? This is somebody who has dedicated her life and around Australia, very well known regarding her work with light workers, healing works, teaching, personal development, creating sacred space, and so much more. Now, if you want to go check out her website, which I highly suggest you do, go to rebsystudio.com, rebsystudio.com. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Rebs Baigent Shaw, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, Dave. Very happy to be here.
All right. First and foremost, what's it like to be chased by sharks in the ocean? Because Dave doesn't do that. Dave's landlocked.
Rebs doesn't do that ordinarily either. I was feeling a little crazy. No, I was not very happy with that experience, actually. And not a big runner, Dave, but fortunately I could get my feet on the floor and peg it out that ocean.
Okay, when you're saying not very big, are we talking 10 feet, 12 feet, 18 feet, 35 feet like Jaws?
It was Jaws. It was Jaws. No, it wasn't that big. It was actually 5 foot. So not the biggest shark in the world, but I am also 5 foot, so it could have, probably gobbled me whole.
Yeah, that's still way too close for comfort. Way too close for comfort. Yeah, that's just terrible. Terrible. Rebs, let's learn a little bit about you, introduce you to our audience here. At what point in your life did you decide that having a spiritualist movement in what you do was the path you wanted to take?
Oh, gosh. Well, the interesting thing about that, I was probably, when I decided it was the path that I was going to take, I was around 26, mid-20s. So before that, I was displaying signs that I might end up on this path, but I was a little resistant to it at first, to be honest with you, because I was not overly keen with some of the experiences that I was having at that time. So it wasn't until I was about 26 that I decided that, nope, this is it. This is the path for me. Had a bit of a turnaround with it, and I guess I surrendered. It's probably the best way to describe it.
Okay, but let's take that one step further, though. What do you mean surrendered to it? Because a lot of people do that as they spiritually transform and they open up their own consciousness, and a lot of people like to call it the third eye, that
Yeah.
it really defines the inner person of who you are. Very peaceful, very joyous, very down to earth. You change your eating habits, your dietary habits, just your entire mantra of who you are. And for a
Yeah.
lot of us, including myself, we can't do it. We cannot do it. Just too weak.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about that is that, before I actually did jump on this pathway, I will say surrendered to it. I had a good fight, a good resistance, to coming into that life-changing experience that you're talking about, in terms of some of the decisions and the changes that you make once you step onto this pathway around how you are going to interact with people, how you are going to interact with the world, how you will change your diet, you will change your lifestyle choices and things like that. Some of those choices that I made, I didn't necessarily consciously decide that for myself. So if you look at, you mentioned diet, for example, meat, red meat at first. I used to love my mum's roast dinners, was quite happy to eat meat, had no problems with that. Once I was on this pathway, my body started to change and I couldn't eat meat anymore. I couldn't actually digest it. I couldn't process it. And the actual changes physically to how I would respond to it changed before my mindset had changed around those kind of things. There were certain things I wanted to hold on to, and there were certain things I was prepared to let go of freely.
I tried it once,
Yeah,
and the true story about it is I had no problem cutting out meat. I had no
yeah,
no problem. But there's two things that killed me.
yeah.
Number one, I could not give up bacon. No way. I was
Oh,
not
yeah.
giving up bacon whatsoever because that is a universal godsend. And number two, it was finding things to replace it. So,
Yeah.
for instance, the other half decided that instead of beef, we'd have quinoa. And
Okay.
and what would happen was the next 48 meals would have quinoa uh, facilitating his beef, and it would be okay. Let's throw this in after I think about night three. It was let's throw this in the garbage and let's head down and grab something, and that's what killed me. To be blunt, but you're absolutely right. Is because I found that when I delved into my own spirituality to kind of learn a little bit more about who I was, I noticed that there was this entire world that I hadn't even known. Like, for instance, I'm a sportsaholic. And all of a
Right.
sudden, watching football or watching hockey or baseball didn't mean as much to me anymore, and
Yeah.
that killed me. And it's funny because the minute I cut the sports and television out, all of a sudden I started hearing music differently. And I started
Yeah.
expanding on my music and all my other senses kicked in. Is that natural?
Oh, look, I would say it definitely is. I mean, if you look at television, look, I'm not saying, I'm a straight 180 by any means. I follow a lifestyle. I watch television. I'm really into good shows and things like that, but I can't have it on around me all the time. I have to choose when to have it on and when not to have it on, because if it's a constant noise that's just there, then I find that I miss out on hearing so many other noises that are more natural or more aligned to making me feel happy, as opposed to maybe the noise just being this kind of rant in the background. And when you stop having that rant, that's just there. That's the TV, by the way. I'm calling it a rant at the moment. It's felt a bit like a ranty device. And you do start listening to music, all of a sudden it's like you'll find sounds in the music that you wouldn't hear, and you'll find other things to do. Like, I'm going to just say, for me, if the TV's off, I've got a drum. I like to drum. Okay. So it's just like a little handheld drum.
Yes.
And I found that over time, when I stopped having so much technology going on around me as well, and I was creating my own sounds, or just more aware of, raindrops outside, or, we've got kookaburras here. I love kookaburras because they have this fabulous laughter, and you become more in tune, I suppose, with different sounds, but more importantly, you become more in tune with the sound of your own self.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Is it a different vibration, or is it just a different path that you're walking that you notice more, that your other senses are heightened?
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you, because I think the path that you walk, if you choose to take those things out of your life and remove certain parts but bring the other parts in, you forget about the TV so much. You become more aware of the natural sounds, but it's also a vibration shift, because for a few different reasons, really. The first one being, if you're not in the denser energies of like technology, some of the devices that we have, the Wi-Fi, all those things that plug in and make that stuff work, that affects your vibration. So if you take that out and are away from those things, or you work with ways of protecting your energy field a little bit more from the effects that those kind of devices and those technologies have on you, your vibration rises. But you can then also consciously make decisions to work with your own energy and your own vibration to actually raise that more. So like meditation, or, sitting in healing energy and things like that. So I guess, a bit of both.
Okay, so in regards to the entire change that the human body goes through, what happens mentally when you start delving into your own spirituality?
Mentally, when you just become so much clearer. Like, I think for me, if I look about, I refer to this as the before life and the afterlife, because I had a real turning point on that pathway. Like I was saying to you before about the surrender aspect, there was multiple different things that were going on around me at that time that made me make this change, So pre that day, I look at it and I think, in all honesty, I could say that I was pretty chaotic. My brain was like a little grasshopper, I'd jump from one thing to the next thing. I couldn't focus on things. I could say that my emotions, my mood was different. So therefore my thoughts are a little bit more, I don't know, heavier or negative or depressed or anxious thinking, fearful thinking, those kind of thoughts. And I could become consumed by that and find it harder to clear my own way and clear my own path. This part of life, the second chapter as such, where I'm making more conscious choices to work with my thoughts, to work with my mind, to be more in control of those mental aspects of who I am. So it doesn't mean that every day I walk through and go, hey, I'm skipping the happy road to destiny. But what it means is that I don't need to slump into my own negative thinking style. I'm more consciously choosing an alternative pathway. I'm of thinking, really, and interacting in my own life, in relationships with other people, because I'm choosing to have different thoughts. So instead of seeing the negative in everything, I'll try and focus on the positive. Sometimes it will bite me, and I have to work through that sort of stuff. But if I was to say to you that every day I get up and I start my day by meditating. That's like my commitment to myself to make my day a better one than what it would be if I was to get up and not bother to do that. If I just get up and race into my day and I race through it and I haven't got my head on as such, my day's probably not going to go as easy for me as what it could if I just decided to maybe just take a bit of time out, get my head on. I call it getting my head on, getting my spiritual practice underway, and how I'm choosing to go, how I'm thinking I would like my day to unfold, how I'm thinking I would like to focus more on things that I'm grateful for, the things that I'm more positive for.
Rebs Baigent Shaw is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Everything spiritual and Zen tonight. Now, what does it do for the soul? What does it do for the soul?
Oh, wow. The soul bit's my favorite bit, actually. So I'm like, yay. So for the soul, I could say to you again, I used to feel that I had a soul sickness. Okay. So for me, it was like on a soul level, I never really felt connected to myself. I was very disconnected, and I didn't feel that I was really, I know happiness is an emotion, but I'm going to use it in terms of describing my soul. My soul didn't feel happy, and it felt a little bit glitchy is probably the word I'm going to use. So if I think about where my soul is at now, because, you know, if I'm describing this just as my journey, and, you know, I was to say to you that my soul, I have a relationship with my soul now. I know a lot about who my soul is, who I am. I know what my soul wants from me. I know what my soul would like me to do. And I know that because if I refer it back to the emotion of happiness, I am in that happy place, you know. So I think a soul comes here, has a little journey, gets from this experience a few things that maybe you're supposed to learn along the way, or does a few things that is supposed to help humanity or to, you know, help in different areas. And if you're not on that path, that your soul has made that decision to come here to live, I think that people feel like they're constantly in a game of tug of war within themselves.
Okay, so
Yeah.
is there a spiritual battle for the soul, like religion tells us, between heaven and hell, dark and good, or dark and light, good and evil?
Oh gosh, that's a tricky one. Look, I do believe that there is, yeah. My own personal experience, and that's all I can talk from, has been I have personally experienced that there is a battle, yes. It's an internal battle, but it's also an external battle, you know? There is, I believe, like a light and a dark. I believe that there's a good, there's an evil. Some people can refer to that as heaven and hell if they do have those belief systems. For me, I believe that we're surrounded by a mixing pot of energy. It's all around us. And I believe that some people like to just see the good and see the love and see the light, you know, and in a way it's like they'll say that the other part isn't there because it's only what you believe in that is in existence, if that makes sense. But I believe that we're in a multi-dimensional zone. You know, I do believe that there is both of those in existence, and I do believe that the soul can swing from the light to the dark and from the dark into the light, like a pendulum.
It is like a pendulum, and you know the way that the soul is treated. Why is it such a sensitive piece if it is eternal?
If it's a turtle.
No, if it's eternal.
Eternal.
Canadian accent there.
if it's a turtle, I'm like, right, I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Look, I think that with the soul, I do believe that we are internal. The soul is eternal, it lives on. But I believe that, I often describe things. I mean, I'm not big on technology, as you probably would have gathered, but I see its purpose in the world. But I like to describe things sometimes in ways that, especially with teaching and things like that, we live in a society where it's there. So I often describe things as like software programs on computers or video games, just in terms of, there's a part of me that believes that basically the soul is eternal, and that we have lifetimes upon lifetimes upon lifetimes, some of which are within this realm, some I believe are in different realms, and I believe that in some lifetimes that we have, that maybe our soul has, so if we look at, say, karma, that's a big one. A lot of people kind of understand about karma and karmic debt and things like that. You may have had a lifetime, it might have been the last lifetime that you lived, and perhaps, in that lifetime, I don't know, maybe you weren't the nicest fella on the planet, or I wasn't the nicest lady, and we made choices, and those choices could have been, I'm going to say, corrupt or toxic, or, just really no good. And then we come into this lifetime. So that soul there has fallen more into the sort of darker aspects of life and living and things like that. And the choices, if people go around hurting one another, for example, and inflicting pain on people, and they chose to do that through their life, and then they come into this one, it doesn't mean that they're going to be in that same learning experience as a soul. They may come into this lifetime having learned what they needed to, and come into a beautiful person who goes around sharing bubbles of love and happiness, joy.
Okay, so with the soul being the way it is, and there are almost 8 billion souls on this planet, never mind just the animals if you want to include them.
Yeah.
Where the hell are all the souls coming from?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you think about, look, to me, I think that if you look at, this is going back, isn't it? Because you could go back to the beginning of time with that one. I mean, the reality of it is that there are souls on this planet that have been maybe here. Like you're talking about souls in general. Like if I think about like souls that keep coming here and reincarnate into physical form, but then you've got all the souls that are also on this planet that aren't in a physical form. They're in they're in spirit. They're like, you could call them your ghosts or things like that. So we are seriously overpopulated, Dave.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So okay. I could get real deep into this, and I just look at the clock. We got about 45 seconds here.
Yeah.
How do we end up cleansing it then? And a short answer, if you don't mind, because we do have to go to break in about 30 seconds.
How do we cleanse it? I don't... Look, in 35 seconds, how do you do that? That is a massive thing, because I think there are people who are out there constantly trying to cleanse it, but we're playing catch up, absolute catch up. It's a mission, isn't it?
It really is. You know what? Let's continue on
when
we come back for the break, because there's nothing worse than getting started on a really power thought and answer, and then all of a sudden you got to get cut off due to the commercial break. But I do apologize about that. But we're going to enjoy your company tonight as we are half hour in, 2.5 hours to go on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Rebs Baigent Shaw is our guest. Her website, rebsystudio.com, as she joins us from Australia. More Spaced Out Radio coming up right around the corner. All right, we're clear. That was a fun first half hour.
Oh, was it? Oh, good. Yeah, that is good. I'm like 35 seconds to sum that up. Don't think so.
Sometimes I live on the rebellious side.
Oh, that's all right. Don't mind that.
Exactly.
Good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fun times. Fun times.
Yeah. Fun times. I thought you said the soul is a turtle.
Apparently a bunch of the Americans did too. It was only the Canadians who understood me.
Yeah, I was like, it's a turtle? This is something I've never heard before.
Hey, by the way, Steam Train Mark is confirming that I am alive tomorrow.
Oh, is he? Oh, good on him.
Yes. Thank you, Steam Train Mark. I knew I could
What a
count on you.
relief. What a relief. Oh, that is good. Because, I mean, as long as we get a confirmation, it's good. But I mean, you could almost go like, I mean, it's like that big thing, isn't it? Are we alive? Are we alive? Are we really alive? Or are we all, is this just one big, like,
Oh, I'm alive. I'm alive.
Yeah.
I have way too many panic attacks about death to not be alive.
Do you really?
Oh, huge. Huge.
Oh, wow. Years ago, I used to have massive panic attacks about death as well.
Yeah.
And then I had a near-death experience, and now I have no problems with it.
Yeah, not me. That's the one. I've had enough really cool spiritual things happen, but it still scares the daylights out of me.
Oh,
completely.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why? What part of it scares you the most, do you think?
That's an easy answer. Death.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. The first thought is, if I go down this path now, if I all of a sudden say I got to cut the conversation off, it's because my anxiety is starting to build.
Okay.
But the first part is, I don't want to be buried. I don't want to be cremated. And what do I do with my body, or what are they going to do with my body? So then I thought about becoming a tree, because now you can get those pods where you can become a tree. But what happens like if a year after I die, they're able to bring the dead back because of technology, and you get to live another 20, 30 years. And then all of a sudden, what happens on the other side? I got to stop.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Take a breath. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Right.
It literally scares the bejesus out of me, and yeah.
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 Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about sharks.
Yeah, another way to death. Hey, Dave, how do you want to die? Come to Australia. You got your choice: the spiders, the snakes, the kangaroos, the sharks, the megalodon, or the goddamn crocodiles.
Oh, the bush ranger.
What the hell is a bush ranger?
The bush rangers. They have bush rangers over here. They're like, they don't have guns. Well, they shouldn't have guns. In some areas, they might. But a bush ranger is somebody that looks after the animals in the bush.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we got them. Up here, they're called conservation officers.
Oh, okay. They might be called that here as well, but I'm just calling them a bush ranger.
That's a nice name.
Name. Thanks. I do think maybe they are called something else, but we'll call them a bush ranger. No, I was thinking more about, you've got your crocodiles and things like that, but it's always backpackers over here, like, especially being English. Like, people used to say to me, "Are you a backpacker?" And I'd be like, no, I've moved over here. And they'd be like, "Oh, that's all right then."
Yeah, no.
It's like,
not me, man.
It's like,
hold. We've got about 35 seconds here.
Okay.
And I want to say a big thank you to We Are the Light. Never forget for the super chat tonight. Absolutely awesome of you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you to everyone who's given us a thumbs up so far, and to everybody who is just sitting around in our chat room having a good time tonight with me and all of you. And we're going to call her Wonder Rebs from now on this show. Wonder Rebs. She actually wears a cape in Australia, and that's what makes her so good. We're going to go live here in about 5 seconds and do a little shopping at facebook.com/the SOR Vault. Grab your swag today. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we continue our conversation about soul rescue, all the way from Australia. They call her Super Rebs down there because she literally walks around Sydney with a cape on. Rebs Baigent Shaw. I couldn't hold my face on that one. I tried, Rebs. I tried. But let me give out your website before we bring you back. RebsyStudio.com. Hi, Rebs.
Hello. Sorry, but I'm just there with the visual on me walking around with a cape.
Yes. Yeah, what color cape do you wear? What color cape?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I think I'd have to mix it up a little bit. Like, really, I mean, if you're going to walk around with a cape on, it's gonna have to be a pretty swanky one that changes color all on its own.
Very true. You know what I was looking at for a fashion statement today?
Go on.
I was looking at a top hat.
Oh, I love a good top hat.
Yes, I think I want a top hat. I think it would look fantastic.
Should get one.
I totally, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think I deserve a top hat. I totally do.
I do too. I reckon that's a must. Do it, Dave.
You think I'd look good?
Yeah, I do. I reckon that you might have to work those headphones out around it.
Well, you see, then I could just switch them like that.
Oh, yeah.
Turn them
that
to the
works
side.
Too. Yeah,
I do think I need a top hat. So I'm going to go cruising around Amazon and see if I can find myself a good one.
I've got one.
Oh. Now I'm jealous. Jealous.
Wear it when I got my cape on.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful. Rebs, we're talking about the soul and where it comes from. Where does it go? Where do you come from, Cotton Eye Joe, in regards to what happens to the soul? Where does it go after we're done with it? Where do you think it goes? Does it go off into the Zen? Is it reincarnated? Is it go up to heaven? Where's this thing going?
Gosh, look, again, I think, to me, there's a couple of different things. So if I come back to, we were talking about reincarnation before.
Right.
We're talking about coming back round. So there's a few different things that can happen. This is what I believe, anyway. If your soul was to go off, okay, but then it can come back round. So it can come back here. Or I believe that your soul can reincarnate in a physical form on planet Earth. But I believe that your soul can reincarnate into, like, I don't believe in just planet Earth, for example. So I believe that your soul could reincarnate into different dimensions. You could have different experiences. I don't believe, you mentioned heaven and hell before. I don't believe that there is just like, if you look at it in terms of a building, it's like you get in the lift, and if you've been good, you get in the lift and you go on up to the next floor and you're in heaven. And then you could get in the lift if you've been really bad and go down to hell. I believe that there are multiple levels that are available to the soul. I also believe in what I call soul university. That sometimes our soul has to go into like a soul university where they need to go and take stock, I suppose, and have a little think about sort of, just life in general, what worked, what didn't, and things like that. And then I believe that on each level, as you move through it, you go up to a different level. And eventually, yeah, I guess the equivalent of that ultimate heaven as such is where people can eventually end up. And I don't believe that if you're stuck in hell, that's it. You have to stay there forevermore. So,
okay, so
yeah.
let's go down the reincarnation road for a second here, because there's a lot of religions out there, including the Hindu religion, that believe that almost immediately after you die, your soul does a complete turnaround and eventually finds something new.
Like
to be
what?
reborn, whether it's in
Yeah.
human form, whether it's in animal form, mammal form, great white shark form.
Yeah. So you just turn around like a big loop and there's nothing in between.
Yes.
See, like, yeah. So for me, yeah, look, I don't necessarily say, I mean, look, I'm not going to say the Hindu religion is wrong in their belief system. And I do believe that perhaps some souls could literally do a flip around. I really do believe that each soul is an individual. I don't think one size fits all, I don't believe the soul is like destined to have to follow one particular course. I believe that we have choice to follow so many different pathways with this, So if we were to talk about the Hindu aspect to this, and if the soul was to literally just go on a roundabout back round into another life form, I believe that could be a possibility as well. Yeah. Just like I believe that some souls don't go anywhere at all. They stay here. And then I believe other souls will, move into those different realms or go to that soul school or go and reconnect with loved ones in the spirit realm for a while, go and have some time, to like work out what you're doing and where you're going, and then maybe come back round. Or maybe they don't come back here. They go somewhere completely different. Yeah.
What about other planets? I know you're into extraterrestrials and ghosts and all that.
I am.
Do you
Yeah.
believe that if you reincarnate from this world, you could end up on a secondary world way out in the universe, far away from Earth?
I absolutely do. In fact, I believe, and that's come up now because, I do believe that. I believe that we can reincarnate onto a completely different planet. Yeah. I believe just like, we're talking about animals before. I mean, some believe that, you can reincarnate back into, I don't know, a dog or, a horse or whatever, a bear. I believe that you can reincarnate into a completely different planet, a completely different species. Yeah.
Do you have proof of that, though?
Well, if I did, I would be making a huge, huge song and dance about it. I don't have proof, no, as in if I was to stand up in a court of law and provide evidence, I wouldn't have it. If I was to say to you that I have personally had some experiences where I've done some past life work, and in those experiences, I could say that I did not believe I was a human being and that I had some memories of different places and different times in different forms. I would say to you that I would say that I've had those experiences, quite happily say that. But I couldn't prove it to you because I haven't got any photographs. That's the problem. It's really hard to prove it, isn't it? You know, it's hard for me to you know, this is why I have to be quite open with this sort of stuff, because one of my things is that I work with a lot of different people. They have their different beliefs, they have their different understandings. Sometimes I work with people, they're all about these past lives where they have lived on different planets, and they talk to me a lot about that. Or, you know, they've had a life as an elemental maybe on this planet, or, you know, they had a lifetime they remember in Sirius, or, you know, all these different kind of places. Now, to me, I believe that we are in a place of infinite possibilities, where I like to keep a really, really open mind to anything is possible. Just because I haven't seen it or I don't 100% know it's true doesn't mean that to somebody in that moment it isn't. To them, they feel very convinced that it was very, very real. It's like me with some of these experiences. If I think about some of those past life memories I have, I could tell you that that felt incredibly, incredibly real, and it resonated with me deep in my soul.
All right. Well, let's move on here in regards
Yeah.
to the soul connection. How do we know when we're connecting somebody with somebody on a soul level?
When they're in the afterlife.
Even in regular life.
Look, I think, you know, sometimes you can meet people. If we talk about sort of in, you know, just regular life, we quite often can meet people that I think that most people do have this as an experience, that they will meet somebody and they feel that they know them. You know, they really do feel that they know them. So again, you know, they can't say, I remember meeting you at this place, I was introduced to you by this person. They can't give the details or the facts of where that was, because there aren't any, you know. But on a soul level, they just connect with that person like a long lost friend, you know. And I think quite often people have those moments. I know, just for an example, I'll share this. I could say to you, my youngest daughter, I've got two daughters. When I had my youngest daughter, and this isn't, you know, like they say about having favorites and things like that with kids. It's not about a favoritism thing. I love them both equally. They're different, they're unique, they're their own personalities. But with my eldest daughter, when I had her, you know, I looked at her, she was this little baby, she was this lovely little girl, and, you know, it was a really wonderful moment, you know. And it was very, very busy, and I just remember the demands as being a new parent. So maybe this bypassed me, I don't know, because it was my first child. But when I had my second daughter, I remember holding her in my arms, and I was much more spiritually connected at the time. And I had her in my arms, and I looked into her little eyes, and it was like I was being drawn into her. It's a really hard thing to describe. Drawn into her eyes, like they were just like these little whirlpools of energy that just took me in. And all of a sudden I realized that this was a real soul connection, that I recognized this little baby. I mean, yes, she was mine, obviously, but I mean on a real soul level. And it's like they often say, don't they, that the eyes are the windows to the soul. And in that moment, I really had that experience where I really, really 100% felt I know this little baby on a soul level. And I believe that we've had those lives before. We've been connected.
How many lifetimes do you think that could go? Like, could it go back centuries, millennia?
Yeah, look, I think it could do. Yeah. And if we talk about, just briefly going back to what we were talking about before, I think that for me, being a believer that lifetimes don't always have to have been here, I think those lifetimes could even go back into completely different dimensions and planets again. So, you know, I sometimes will meet people and they'll talk to me and they'll say, you know, I think I had, I don't know, they meet a boy who knows? And they say I had a soul connection. And I think that this person and I were, we knew each other once before in such and such a time, such and such a place. Now, I often look at that and I go, okay, well, let's look at this realistically, because that person is this age and you're that age. And, that would have meant that on a timeline, would that have worked for them? So you have to sort of think that, you can have those soul connections with people, but you have to have kind of had that prior to the date of this lifetime, if that makes sense. I don't know if I explained that very well, actually, because it's like, yeah, I'm going to come back to that. Did that make sense to you, Dave, what I just said? Sorry.
Oh,
but...
I think it totally did, and it makes me
yeah.
it makes me follow up with the following, that with these soul connections that we make with other spirits and family, I couldn't imagine, and I'm very lucky. I'm 47 years old. I still have both my parents alive. I still have one of my grandparents alive. Okay, a lot of my great aunts and uncles are still alive, or my aunts and uncles are alive, and I look at it and I know I'm very fortunate. I really know that I am. But are we always connected to the same family throughout time? So, for instance, in another timeline, am I going to be in my mom and dad's family, or is it expansive where they're going to, once they release from their body spiritually, they're going to go in their own direction and I will go in mine?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that, isn't it? Because, I do believe, like, to a degree, that we come back sometimes in little pods. Like, I don't know if I mean, I'm sure you would have done, but had conversations with people where they say, you have like a soul family and you come back in a little soul pod, but I don't believe for one moment that we have to just stay in that pod over and over and over and over and over and over again, just mixing up the roles. Like, my brother becomes my sister and my sister becomes my dog and my dog becomes my grandfather, like, because we landed in this pod in this lifetime, but we just move into the next one, switching right now. When we come back this time, you're going to be that and I'm going to be, I don't believe that we have to remain within that pod group. I think that, if we just continue through so many lifetimes, switching roles, switching scenarios, then eventually we would just come full circle back round to the same thing. And I think that really that in itself would serve its purpose only for as long as it did, before it was just, okay, and we're doing this again, why? So I think we reach out of that pod and out of that family and out of those groups. And I think we interact with other souls and different beings all of the time, and if we want to come back in a pod for a while, I think we can do that. But if we don't, then we feel that we want to reach out of that pod, I feel we have that choice to do so.
Very cool. Very cool. And okay, so if we're able to reach out for that pod, are we always able to come back, or maybe the next lifetime, or even in that current lifetime, to find our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, a lost love?
Yeah. Look, I've had some situations with people, and this kind of elaborates on the point that I didn't know whether I made it or not, because I can talk myself around sometimes. I had some people I was working with, and they'd had a baby. They'd had a couple of other children, and then they had the baby. Now, the father had lost his brother, and the brother had passed, several years before. So the brother hadn't passed during the lifetime that this baby had currently lived on this planet. So that family was absolutely convinced that that baby was his brother, who had chosen to reincarnate back in to their lives as their son. So this is the thing, the brother had obviously, in their experience of that, had obviously decided to come back and find them. to still be part of that family unit, and was able as a soul to make that choice to come back in and continue to be part of that life with them, just in a different way.
And I've heard many reports of that happening where, let's say, a child dies prematurely at birth or before birth,
Yeah.
or the child is born but, has health problems and dies almost immediately afterwards. That, as destructive as that is, and I pray I never, I'm very thankful that I've never had to go through that, but it's something where you all of a sudden hear these stories when that family gets pregnant again and they have
Yeah.
that child is now saying, I was here once before, I
Yeah.
couldn't stay though because of whatever. And I've heard a number of those stories, and they just fascinate me about that quick reincarnation, that the soul leaves the one body and then goes straight to the next.
Yeah. Well, that's a bit like what you were saying about the Hindu before, like if you think about their beliefs, I mean, that's pretty much what they're saying. And look, I do believe that that is possible. I think that sometimes what can happen, and again, having sort of, come across some of these cases myself, I have met people that for one reason or another, that little child, that baby didn't didn't come into this world, you know. And so obviously the people that I was working with, for them, they're absolutely devastated, extreme loss, like their world was shattered, And then a couple years later, similar to what you're saying, they then fall pregnant, and they wholeheartedly believe that that baby was the same soul that never managed to make a physical, birthing into this world, but to couple years later to be born here, and I honestly do believe that. I believe that can be the case. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that, and this may sound like a silly question as we got about 2 minutes left, does that include pets as well?
Do you know, it's so funny you should ask that, because when you were talking before, I was actually thinking about a dog. Okay. So I had a little story just very quickly about a dog. I mean, I have 4 dogs. I had more than 4 dogs. I'm down to 4 at the moment. As I was telling you before, one got bit by a red-bellied black snake and had died. Okay. Now that little dog, just very, very quickly, that is another soul recognition. I knew that dog from the minute I'd seen her. I, on a soul level, thought, I know this little soul that is in this dog body, And when she went, I felt that her life was cut short. And I firmly, firmly believe that she was born again. I believe she reincarnated back into another dog, but it's like, this is a blowout. And that was what I said when I saw this little puppy. It was like the timing of it was a quick turnaround. Again, it wasn't a big wait. It was like the roundabout. And it isn't me sort of in my grief and loss going, oh my gosh, I can't cope with the fact that I've lost my dog, so I'm going to have to project my desire that this is okay onto this puppy. I honestly believe that that is the same little soul in a different puppy body.
That is very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I had dreams after my one dog died. He used to love going fishing with me.
Oh,
And
nice.
and he came back to me in a dream state one night showing me visions of him sitting on a beach waiting for
Yeah.
me, watching me fish in a lake.
Yeah, see, that's beautiful. And spirit, whether it's spirit of animals, spirit of people, they communicate with us through our dreams, and animals are fabulous communicators on visual, like that's their language, is visual. So I believe that our dogs, if they, if they move on, they pass, They come and they visit us. I've
Right.
seen dogs of ours sitting outside the front of our house before.
Rebs,
They're
I'm
in
going to get you to
spirit.
hold on right there, okay? Because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Rebs Baigent Shaw continues on with us in hour 2. We're going to take your questions as well in the chat rooms, so stay tuned. More with Rebs, all the way from Australia, wearing her cape and top hat. We'll be back. All right, I'm back.
Oh, sorry. It's like press the off switch, and I don't always get that bit.
That's okay. I got you all piped down here. I'm going to take my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah, no worries. I'm going to go and grab a cuppa.
All right.
And everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, little brother is watching.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We teamed up with Space Out Radio to investigate cases per night in the SOR Satellite System. We are independent, and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Satellite System.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there. The SOR Vault is open for business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today. Take it from the top.
Go! The party is always on. The Bruce Wayne Fever is where you can visit the West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The Moose runs at the Rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right here? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spicing up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
All right, I am back. Big thank you to Fapster, and we are the light for the super chats tonight. Really do appreciate that. Always appreciate everyone supporting the show. And, yeah, we're having a good time here, people. Having a good time tonight. Hi, Rebs.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. Yes, I am definitely getting a top hat.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I've decided.
I've put mine on.
Oh, I want to see that.
I'm joking. It was like...
You can't tease like that.
I could.
You can't
Yeah.
tease like that.
No, it's in my car.
Okay. What side of the road do you drive on over there?
Oh gosh, for a minute I couldn't remember. The left
Cool.
when I'm going downhill, and the left when I'm going uphill.
Oh, you drive like England then, on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny though because I have been into different countries where you go on the other side of the road, and it's always the roundabouts that blow me out. I'm just like, what happens here?
Me too. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
No.
Okay,
it can be
big question from our audience here. What's your opinion of eating breakfast foods for dinner?
Oh, look, go for it. Whatever floats your boat.
That's terrible.
Okay.
Terrible. Terrible. Oh.
Is it?
Interview is over. We're going to hang up on Rebs now. All right. Big thank you to everyone who has given us a thumbs up and everything and enjoying this show. And don't forget, you can do a little shopping at facebook.com/the SOR Vault for your latest swag on what we have up. So here we go.
Okay.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in. We really do appreciate everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Maca Collation. Maca Collation is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with our great discussion tonight with our guest. We have Rebs Baigent Shaw all the way from Australia, wearing her top hat and cape as we go on a journey of soul rescue. And her website, and I think you should check it on out, Rebsie, that's REBSZ or ZIE, studio.com. Rebs, welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You are welcome. Now, Rebs, you know, we talked a little bit about reincarnation in the last half hour of the show, and this is something that, you know, the one thing that we could guarantee in life literally is death. We could guarantee that. And for many people, there's a lot, in myself included, as you learned during the last break, all right, that there's anxiety and panic about dying and the soul moving on and not knowing what's going to happen because, you know, we have science that says that this is a one and done thing. You have the religious side that says the soul goes on forever. The spiritualists believe that the soul moves on. There's almost 8 billion people on this planet, and for a lot of us, we worry about this. We don't want to leave our loved ones. We don't want to leave our pets or our home or our area. You know, it's scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. It is scary. And look, I can honestly say that I understand those fears, you know, having had them once upon a time myself, you know, and I think that I went through a stage in life where the thought of dying absolutely petrified me. In fact, I was so scared. I was thinking, what will happen to me? Where am I going? How will I, what am I going to? Like, what will happen when I get there? And then came in, a lot of those concerns around, you grow up sort of, for me, I didn't necessarily grow up in a religious household, but I do know people who had their own religions and things like that. And this whole idea that there's possibly this like judgment panel when I get over there, it's like, oh my God, like, did I mess up? Like, am I going to be judged when so there was all this pressure that comes with the thought of actually passing over, dying. And so, yeah, look, I get it. It's the fear of the unknown, isn't it? It can be pretty daunting. And, then there's also, I won't get into it too much, but I think a lot of people spend a lot of their time projecting towards how it will happen. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people sort of spend a lot of their living time concerning themselves with how they're going to die. Like, what will get them in the end? Will it be that shark, or will it be that red belly black snake, or will it be, that heart attack, or whatever it might be, And I really do get that can be incredibly anxiety provoking. I think what changed that for me was a couple of different things. I think really focusing my mind on being a little bit more present just in my day-to-day and not projecting too far down my future to the what's, the ifs, the maybes, and the hows of how I choose to live my life now in this day is about being present and enjoying every moment of it with those pets, with those loved ones, with those friends, doing what I enjoy doing, and not worrying about the things that I can't change so much. That was a big part of it. And then the massive area for me that really helped me is believing that really it isn't about dying. I don't believe that we die. I mean, if the soul's eternal, then it's not a death. We just shapeshift as such, we leave this version, this physical 3-dimensional version, and we move into something else. So it's a little bit like, people talk quite a bit about, the caterpillar that goes into cocoon that becomes the butterfly. And that is how I see this. I see it as a transition, but not a death.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So as we let's change direction here on this, if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to continue with the soul. The soul.
Yeah.
Is the soul working on its own frequency and vibration, or is it actually a part of the human anatomy that is basically invisible?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one as well, because I believe that there are different, I don't believe the soul is just one unit that vibrates at one frequency. And I believe that there are aspects of our soul that are in the physical body which will vibrate at a frequency. But let's just say your physical body is let's just say, I don't know, you eat breakfast cereals, not breakfast foods, but let's say Cheerios or something. If you ate Cheerios for breakfast, Cheerios for lunch, and Cheerios for dinner, I believe that your physical vessel, your physical body would probably not be feeling too awesome, And I think that your soul's vibration would struggle in the frequency of which your body is providing. Okay. So if you were to completely clean that up and, really, really make those different choices for yourself and became like super, super healthy and super, super conscious and aware of what you were putting in, it's like, do you put the good petrol into your car, or do you put the not so good petrol into your car? Your car runs really, really well on this good juice. It runs real bad if you put this other stuff in, you know? And I think that affects the frequency of the soul part that is within you. But I don't believe that the whole soul is here in this, like for me now, in this physical body, my whole soul is not present. I believe that I have an oversoul, so like my higher self, for example, and then you have like, you know, like, I also believe that there are parts of my soul that are currently having lifetimes outside of just this one. So it's
Okay.
like,
Okay.
yeah.
Does the soul know if you're alive or dead?
Physically, I believe this. I believe that if you were to physically, this body was to no longer need to be in service, so it died. I believe the soul, most of the time, knows that it doesn't have a body that it's living in, you know. But I also believe that some souls are a little bit slower to catch up, that the physical body has just died. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Which I believe is then what can create things like ghosts, for example.
Okay.
Can be part of the not the whole thing, but I believe that. Okay, here's the story. Okay. I went to, when I lived in England, I went to visit my mum one evening. My mum had a friend, she lived in like, we called them flats in the UK. I think they call them apartments over here. But she lived underneath this guy, and they were around the same age. They were both single, and they would have a little drink in the evening, you know, about 6 o'clock. They'd get together, do that probably about 3 times a week. Go to her place one day, and I walked down the stairs, and I said to her, his name was Bill. I said, have you seen Bill lately? And she was like, oh no, I think he's gone away. I haven't seen him for a few days. And I said to her, I think that you need to contact a member of his family. And if you can't contact a member of his family, if you don't know how to do that, then you're going to have to contact the emergency services. So she was, you know, obviously, well, why? What's happening? And I said to her that Bill is at home, but Bill is not physically alive. So he had died. He'd had a heart attack. So anyhow, they got somebody, they had to call in a family member. They came in, and he had actually died probably about 2 or 3 days before. But his soul was there. But the problem is that I think it was so sudden that Bill hadn't actually realized initially that he'd even passed over. So sometimes with spirit, they get a little stuck because they don't realize that they've actually gone, because it was so sudden, or maybe it was traumatic, you know, they had an accident, and all of a sudden it's like the physical body's died, but the soul's just kind of got knocked out of the body and is not really sure what it's supposed to do or where it's going to go. So it stays for a while.
Is it confusion on the soul's part if the person, while they're alive, is not ready to die, but say a car accident, a heart attack, a stroke, a brain aneurysm, all of a sudden causes some sort of instant death?
Yeah, there is a confusion. There can be, not always, but there quite often can be in those quick, sudden, you know, deaths. There is often confusion. It's like, you know, I mean, you hear quite a few stories, don't you? Like, I don't know, people, I know when I was a kid, there used to be this little bridge that we used to cross over, and there'd been an accident there. It was like a motorbike accident. It happened like years before. But I remember it was the bridge that no one ever wanted to go over. You know, it was like people used to say, don't cross that bridge because when you get there on the other side, the guy that had the accident, you know, he's there. And it was like people were genuinely scared to go over that bridge. And then other people would go over the bridge and they would go, oh, it feels a little bit eerie, you know, like it feels a bit scary. They'd go in the daytime, but they didn't like to go at nighttime, you know. And so to me, I think those are often telltale signs. Yeah, you could say people are just scared, or it's their imagination, or if they've, you know, heard the story often enough and people make it scary, it then becomes their reality. I mean, you know, but for me, I will often see spirit on the side of the road. And quite often at the side of the road, there'll be flowers or, you know, little rests in peace, you know, and things like that, because that spirit has had an accident there and exactly in that moment wasn't ready, was unprepared, or is confused and not sure what to do, what to go, scared to go, and becomes a little bit lost. Now, when I do see those kind of spirits there, quite often I spend a lot of my time going around helping those kind of spirits.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
What causes that confusion? Is it the jump out of the body? Is it, you know, I mean, accidents happen. Like, I believe we all have a timeline, all right? From the minute we're born, we're dying. We just don't know when or how. But I don't think that accidents are maybe part of that timeline, so to speak. So maybe if there is a God, like I believe in God, if God says, okay, you're going to live for 75 years, but you get killed in a car accident at 37, you can't control the accident. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. You know, I think sometimes just on that note in itself, I think that we come here, we know, like we don't always know, do we? I mean, we're gonna say we get the 75 years. It's like, here's your 75 years, but at 35, you know, great big wrecking ball comes through your life and you don't get your 75 years, you know. I think that like I often see, I talk a lot in train tracks and maps. You know, I think that if we look at it in terms of a map, you know, we have a map 0 to 75. You know, the map looks fairly straightforward, but somewhere along the line, something changes. There's a detour in place, or something comes along that completely whacks us off that pathway unexpectedly. You know, that soul has then been, it's a trauma. It's like a trauma response. You know, you suddenly think, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm well, I'm in my element. I should be able to get this 75 years out of this life, no dramas, you know. And then all of a sudden it's just not there anymore. So at the point of trauma, what can happen? I mean, this can happen for people that survive the accident as well. There can often be like a part of a soul at a point of accident that fractures off from the main part of the soul that's within the body, you know, and then you're going into something which is called soul retrieval, which is a completely different area. But then sometimes the physical body dies and then you're just left with the actual soul of the person in that confused state, because that happens so quickly, but also because they don't know, or they're not confident on where they actually want to go. It's like, if you think about it in terms of, you know, quite often, like I've had older generations in the family, they've passed on, you know, they've had that concept of heaven and hell, good and bad, right and wrong. Maybe, you know, they go to the pearly gates and they get the judgment, you know. Maybe they've done something here that they're not overly happy about. They made a bit of a decision and they're scared that that's going to be the outcome for them, that they're going to get marched down to hell because they made a mistake here. And that's their belief system, you know. So when they've passed over, all of a sudden, whether it was a planned or unplanned passing, they can have fear there. Yeah, that can hold them too.
Okay. So on that note, when the spirit leaves the body,
Yeah.
if it's not intercepted by the light or by someone like yourself who is intuitive, who can help gain control, will that spirit stay in that area forever? Like, say, for instance, if you're in a car accident, you roll your vehicle down a mountainside. All right. They pull the body out. Yes, they pull the vehicle out. And does the spirit stay there if it happens in shock? Like, would it be there 100 years down the road? Or
I believe it can be. Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, forever is a massive amount of time. I'd like to think that any spirit wouldn't have to spend forever in that place, you know. But I do believe that easily you can have spirits stuck in places on our, you know, in our time, this realm's time, for hundreds of years. Yeah. You think about like, I mean, I know in the UK, you know, we're quite well known for our like very old Victorian and Edwardian buildings and things like that. I got brought up in an old vicarage. So I spent my childhood in this old Victorian vicarage, and it was haunted, you know. And so for me, like as a child, I would often be communicating with spirits, and those spirits were spirits that had been there for a very long time. You know, there was nothing about them that was like, you know, today worldly. You know, they were more of the yesterworld as such, you know. And I would say that easily they had been there. I don't know how long they've been there for, but quite often with those older buildings, you will find that the spirits there have, you know, they've got 100 years plus on them, you know.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking in regards to the spirit. Is it a matter that the spirit is afraid to cross over, or they're unsure, as we have about 2.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour?
Yeah. Yeah. I do believe that sometimes they are afraid to cross over and they are unsure to cross over. But, you know, those fears can be different. You know, it could be like when I was saying before about, you know, maybe that moment at the pearly gates, the moment of judgment for your decision making, sometimes that's a fear that they may have that would prevent them from going. You know, if there was that moment where they thought, yep, I've got this, I'm going, but oh gosh, I'm not going to because I'm too fearful. That there are also spirits that quite commonly choose not to go. And they choose not to go because they don't want to leave their loved ones. They're worried about how their partner or their children would manage without them. So they make that conscious choice. It's not that they're scared to go or that, you know, it all happened so quickly, they were confused and there was no realization. But it's actually that they actually just don't want to. They want to stay here. You know, they want to stay in their family unit. They want to stay in their home. I've been into houses before where I've worked with spirits who refused to leave because that was their house. And they were going to stay there, you know. So that is more of a conscious decision on the behalf of the spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is the difficult side of everything is, you know, if that spirit is confused, and that's what actually confuses me a little bit, is how can
Yeah.
a spirit be confused upon exiting the body?
Yeah, so as in terms of, do you mean that in the way of that on a soul level, are we not
Well,
an enlightened soul, or do you
yeah.
mean it? Would we not surely work out for ourselves that we died in that kind of way, or?
Well, I mean, you know what? Let's take this up when we come back from the break here at the bottom of the hour because we only have a few seconds left. But
Yeah.
where I'm kind of going with that is, if the soul is eternal, why would it be confused after a human death? That's the question that we will get answered from our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, Rebs Baigent Shaw, all the way from Australia. Her website, rebsystudio.com. We're going to have a good time on Spaced Out Radio right after this on the Mighty SOR. All right, we're clear.
Oh, good. Oh, lovely. How you going there, Dave?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
Awesome. I was wondering if does this stuff, when you talk about all this sort of stuff, I was thinking, oh my God, like must be very hard to talk about, all this sort of stuff for you, maybe.
You know what? It's different when I'm talking personally and when I'm talking on the air.
Yeah, fair enough. You kind of get that sort of sense of detachment a little bit more.
Yeah, there's
kind of remove yourself from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. You click in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
Exactly. So that's where it gets a little bit interesting. So, no, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. 2 seconds. All right. And there we go. Nice and relaxed. I'm relaxed tonight.
Oh, good. That's the way to do it, I reckon. Be nice and chilled.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh. And let's see here. All right. But the only problem with my job here is my show or my job never ends. There's always something going on.
Oh, yeah. I'd imagine, because you've got, as soon as, I think, I relate to that because there's a part of my work, I do events, I run events and things like that. And so people think, oh, if you're not working directly with people or, clients or running classes, it's over. But it's all the communications that go on around that is the bit that just never, can't always switch the rest of the world off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know.
He says, that's why you deserve that top hat, right?
I totally deserve a top hat.
I think you should just treat yourself.
I'm going to. I am so going to.
Yeah, you should. Seriously now, all jokes aside, I do actually have a top hat, but it was part of a Halloween costume.
I'm looking at steampunk hats right now.
Oh, they're the best. I love steampunk.
Yes. So I'm looking at a couple here. There's the pop-up top hat oval concho.
Whew.
Oh, that's nice. Let's see here. So you need the ones you got to get the goggles for them too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no. If you go steampunk, there needs to be goggles involved. Anything
Thank you.
steampunk goggle. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Otherwise, it's just not kind of, so you need to get the goggles as well.
I think so. I think you're very much in tune with that.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm going there. Totally going there.
Do it. And a pocket watch.
Yes. Hey, Stetson, John, how you doing? Oh, I've got a bunch of pocket watches.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, then you need one of them as well.
I think my oldest one's about 120 years old.
Oh, goodness. That's very good.
Yeah.
So do you collect them?
My grandfather used to.
Okay, yeah. There's nice old sort of ones. They're not, they're hard to get your hands on now.
Oh, yeah. I love pocket watches.
Yeah, I think they're great.
Best place to get them is at the flea market because nobody knows how much they're actually worth.
Yeah, well, that's what, I remember I got my granddad one. He had a really nice one, and he was really upset because he lost it.
Hold on, here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with our conversation tonight with Rebs Baigent Shaw, all the way from Australia. Her website, RebsyStudio.com. We're talking spiritual stuff all night long, soul rescue. We continue on. Rebs, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
Now, right before the break, I asked you a question about the soul being confused. And if the soul is eternal, how does it get confused when it's dead? Or when the human body is dead?
Yeah, look, I get what you're saying because I've thought this myself. Like the soul, obviously, if you look at it in terms of it has its own intelligence, right? So it's also supposed to be the more enlightened version of who we are. So how come it can't work it out? Surely it would know. So this is how I see this, right? Sometimes it also needs to be about basically if we look at the vibration of the soul. So sometimes the soul a person's living their life, they've got the soul within them. They have actually they're in this life, okay? When we come here, I believe, and you would have probably heard this before as well, that we come in, we get amnesia. So we don't necessarily remember all of our past lives unless we start consciously trying to, or we have these awakening moments. So all we've got is what we've got right here, right now, and what we kind of unfold and unravel whilst we're here. So our soul's understanding is only based upon how much we learn and develop. So if I'm someone, for example, who, really just puts my whole head under a rock every day and just sits in the shade and does nothing, and I'm not at all interested in spiritual development, I don't want to do anything, I just want to be under that rock and just do my own thing, then my soul is maybe at a different vibration, like we were talking about the food groups and things before, to what it would be if I was sitting in meditation every day, I was going out and sharing, wonderful things with the world and sort of really kind of trying to work on myself. And then if I'm doing that, I start to remember about soul and where my soul goes, where my soul came from, and building that connection again. So if I then leave my body through an accident or, sudden death, my soul is probably more likely to, in that moment of passing over, feel that connection and pull back to where I came from, as opposed to a person who maybe just did detach completely, just had no part in anything, wasn't interested, and then they have an accident and they pass over. And that is where the confusion is, because they are a little bit further removed from where they originally came from. And that's not like trying to be a judgment of, hey, do what I'm doing and meditate and things like that. But it's just saying the closer you become in this lifetime to remembering your soul and where you came from and things like that, the more likely you're going to feel to not have that fear if you pass, or that confusion of where it is that you want to go when you pass. Whereas if you've completely removed it and become really, really attached just to the physical and to this lifetime, when you do pass, you might have a little bit of a harder time remembering, even though your soul is the more enlightened version of yourself. So it's like the side effects, I suppose, of that amnesia that we get when we come here.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what if it's a brand new soul that's never incarnated on Earth?
Yeah, so first time in?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that, that's a really interesting question. Can I come back to it? Because I just want to add something very, very quickly onto what I just said.
Yes,
as
please.
well, because I do think also, how I was saying before, like if you make choices to live one way or another, that sometimes your choices can make it a little bit harder for your soul then to remember where it's supposed to go and what it's supposed to do. We can also make choices as a soul to live intentionally in a lower vibration energy. So let's just say we, as a soul, are here and we really do, I don't know, say with Jack the Ripper or something like that. Okay, that's been what we've got up to in this lifetime. And then we pass over, that energy is more attached to the vibration of this realm. So less inclined to want to move on, quite likes it here. Cool.
I can live with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that into what I was saying, and then come back to your question. Sorry.
Well, just in regards to new souls, do they know? Like, I could see the confusion of a soul if it's their first time incarnating here on Earth.
Yeah, I get it too. Yeah, I think with new souls, because it's a real tricky one, isn't it? Because I don't 100% know the answer to that. I would say to you that there would be a part of me that would think, because they were a new soul having reincarnated here, that it's kind of fairly a short existence, really, in terms of, you think about the soul as eternal, then this lifetime that they've incarnated into would be quite a small thing. So I would say that as a soul, whether it's new or not, it would probably feel closer always to where it came from. I think the more lives you have here, maybe the more time you spend here, if you think about a child, I know this isn't a very nice concept to talk about, but let's just say in terms of if you had a child who maybe was only an infant when they passed over, I think that child had only been here for a number of years, would feel quite free and connected to the energy from where they originated from. They quite young, but they could be a wise soul, but they just hadn't been here very long. Then if you had a new soul that had been here, I feel they'd be quite like a child, so they would be quite free in returning back to where they came from, less attached to this. I don't know, I always think of younger souls as being quite innocent, quite childlike. And so I would say that vibrationally, they would probably still be very, very in line with that energy that they're moving back to. That would be my take on that, to be honest with you.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
spiritually speaking, you are someone who is intuitive. Are you clairaudient, clairvoyant? Which clairs do you have?
Well, I'm lucky because I've got most of them actually. So I'm clairaudient, which means that I do hear, and I'm clairvoyant, and I'm claircognizant and clairsentient. But I would say I use all of them, but probably my clairvoyance and my clairaudience, I would say they would probably be maybe my strongest ones, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
spiritually speaking, on a psychic medium intuitive level,
Yeah.
a lot of people will come to you asking, what's going on in my life? Why can't I get organized? Why can't I see, or why do I seem to have this black cloud over me? If I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. I mean, usually
Yeah.
there's a lot of down people searching for answers. How do you find the clarity in those proper answers? Because the one issue that I have with a lot of intuitive people is
Yeah.
all the good stuff, and I've had this happen to me. And in a way, I consider myself intuitive. I just don't practice it. Okay?
Yeah.
But I could smell BS from a mile away. Been doing this long enough. And one of the things that disturbs me about this is people on the intuitive side who are predicting the negative can pick it up at an instant. But the good stuff is always 6, 8, 10, 11, 12 months away. But you have to go through all of this bad stuff first. And then you reach that 8, 10, 12 month point, and nothing's changed. Nothing good happened. And I've seen it for myself. I've seen it for other people because we talk to a lot of people here on the show. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is you. Okay. So please,
Yeah.
this is not an accusation. But for the intuitives in general, why is it so much easier to predict the bad than the good?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, that's a really tricky one because, look, I think there's look, I'm just going to be honest. Like, I think there's a little bit of a culture out there that sometimes, we, I think we get I don't know. I think sometimes intuitive people, they can get a little bit of a bad rap in terms of they will maybe predict that negative stuff and then they dangle that carrot of the good stuff, which is almost it's like the pot of gold under the rainbow, isn't it? But then you get to the end of the rainbow and you can't find the pot of gold. And I think sometimes what happens is in my experience, look, I run events, so I run psychic fairs, so I work with a lot of different people, and so I do observe this quite often. And I think that sometimes it's like I can't say in Australia there's a sandwich. It's a sandwich. You deliver it. You've got your piece of bread on one side, you've got a piece of bread on the other, and you've got all this horrible filling in the middle, and you kind of get handed one of those. It's like, here's a little bit of good, here's a little bit of rubbish, and here's another nice piece of bread. It's like the buttering up. And I think that sometimes what happens is people may predict all this stuff, and unfortunately, if it is negative prediction, it's like, oh, but I'll give you this nice little thing at the end, and it's almost like the token gesture to make you feel better, and I know that sounds really horrible, but I think that does happen, and I think it's not a case of that it's easier for them to predict the negative than the positive, but more a case if they are tuning into that more so within their reading style, it's almost like at the end of it, I've got to give you something good, and maybe that is not a case of what they're, I don't know. That would just be my perception of that. I think that sometimes people come from that very kind of your bank's going to be empty, you're not going to get your car that you want, and your knees are going to give out, and but at the end of it, it's all right because you'll find the car keys. It's like, what is that about? Like, I like readings that are about empowering people, so it's not necessarily about the prediction of things. It's more about the guidance of things in areas that are actually coming up for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just kind of more the way I come from things, I suppose.
Okay. So
Yeah.
So why does it always seem that the good is so far away?
Yeah, look, to me, it's a shame, really, that is the case, because I think that there's a lot of good in everything. It's just about the perception that maybe it's coming from, or how we're seeing things. Like, we can be having a really, really tough experience in life in a 12-month period. Like, we can look at, say, the last 12 months, for example, have been particularly interesting. So a lot of people that could have been having readings probably would have heard through their readings a lot of information about, maybe loss to jobs, or loss to businesses, or loss to income, those kind of things. But don't worry, because at the end it will all work out. And that sort of stuff is kind of, it's exactly that. It's like this dangling of a carrot at the end of it. And I don't necessarily say that the person isn't accurate, because obviously that can be the case. And at the end, maybe it does work out, but it might not work out. It might be that that person has a run of bad luck for a significant amount of time. Maybe things do get better. It may be that person's having a run of bad luck, but they can see all the real positives in it, and some real changes have come about for them. So I think it's about not focusing too much upon the negative, seeing it. If it's a reality, it's a reality. If people are struggling with it, give them the tools and give them the support and the help that they need to manage it. And you're more likely to find hope within that sooner, rather than telling them it's going to be awful for 12 months. Good luck, but don't worry, it will work out at the end. I think people, if they come for readings, I usually find that there's something going on where they need help in the moment. I don't tend to do readings about predictive stuff. In terms of, will you win the lottery? Will you sell your house? I'm not so much interested in that. I'm more interested in helping people to create change in their life. So if they are struggling and things are challenging, what can we do right here, right now, to assist you to make it a little bit better, or a little bit more manageable? It's like hurdle help.
Okay.
Getting over the hurdle. Yeah.
Okay. So intuition, we all seem to have that sixth sense. Why do you think the majority of us, as we got about 6 minutes to go here before we go to break, why do you think the majority of us don't listen to that little internal voice that says, I wouldn't be doing that if I were you?
Yeah. How many people do you reckon that after it's happened said, I knew that? I wish I'd listened to myself. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because we are intuitive. We are all intuitive. Some of us just feel a little bit more maybe disconnected from it. But even, I meet all sorts of interesting people. And, when you really get into those conversations with them, they'll all go, like, it's like, oh, psychic, it's this or you're that or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but so are you. And you say, do you get the phone call? Do you have that little voice in your head that says maybe you shouldn't? Yeah, that's your voice, So it's about trying to just reconnect people back into that, to be confident with it. But I think that's the problem with a lot of people. They don't trust themselves enough they can quite often say, oh, why did you do that? Oh, that person told me it'd be a good idea, so I thought I'd give it a go. Okay, so you listen to that person. Do you know them? Oh, not really. I've known them for a little while. How long have you had a relationship with yourself for? Well, since I was born. But you won't listen to your own voice, but you listen to the voice of another person, you know? And so I think it is something that comes with confidence. I think that over time, a lot of people start to trust in themselves a little bit more and trust in their own intuition a little bit more, and come to realize that after enough times of hearing that little voice and maybe realizing that they should have listened to themselves, that they will actually start listening to that voice first before they listen to anybody else's.
Right, and I understand that, and I could see that, and as someone who's almost died because I didn't listen to that voice,
Yeah.
Realistically, I'm surprised that more of us don't feed off of that intention. I know after I had my ATV accident, thankfully I wasn't hurt, but my ATV ended up rolling down a mountainside by about 200 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
All I could say is that little voice, the entire 90 minutes to get up to where we were riding that day, was telling me, turn around, go home, today's not a good day to ride. And it repeated that, and I fought it because I hadn't ridden my ATV all winter, and now I wanted to go for a ride. It was the first beautiful sunny weekend of the spring in 2013, and I wanted to do this, and I couldn't. And so when I looked at it, if I would have listened to that voice, my ATV would still be around.
Yeah, but you were willing to get up there. I will do this. I will get up there. I will get out on this nice sunny day, and sometimes that voice within us, it's like a little bit what they say. I mean, I'm not saying it's egotistical, but it's like the voice of the ego, the voice of the ego can step in and, override so many of our conversations, and we can make decisions, or, our willpower. I will make this happen. I will this to be, and it gets really loud, it's like the volume on there goes to super max. And, your intuition can be saying to you that whole time, but I want what I want. It's like being a naughty kid, isn't it? It's like, I want this to happen, but, I do know that there's this part of me that's saying it's not a good idea, but we listen to the one that we want in the moment sometimes instead of the one that maybe we should be listening to.
Right. Okay. So how do we start paying attention to that voice a little bit more?
Yeah. So, I think, how does the voice become louder? How does the voice become clearer? So that we hear it sooner. That's one of the areas that, like, when I teach people, it's like, if they say, oh, what is my intuition? What are all these voices? This is one of the questions, because we have a lot of voices. Like, we can have our voice of intuition, we can have the voice of the ego, we can have the voice of higher self, we can have the voice of our spirit guides, we can have the voice of our ancestors. We have all of these different voices, but fundamentally the voice that I believe that we really, really need to tune ourselves into is that intuition, into our intuitive self, and to sit with ourselves and to give space to that, because I find one of the things that we're very, very busy, aren't we, people? We run around all the time, and, we're doing this and we're doing that, and we're getting this done and we're getting that done. We don't spend enough time sometimes with ourselves. And when we're with ourselves, that's when we can hear that voice best of all, especially when we're in the earlier chapters of trying to develop it. So the more we sit with it, the more we listen to it, the more we consult with it, the more we receive guidance that actually, if we sit and think about that, possibly makes sense, the more we go with the guidance and see the evidence of that was the better choice, the more we start to trust it, the more likely we're going to consult with it. So it's about giving space to self. giving space to your intuitive voice.
And the one thing that I've learned about that voice is it's never wrong.
Exactly.
You know, it really is never wrong. And it's there,
Yeah.
and it really is like your own built-in bodyguard from doing things stupid. We just have to Q-tip our ears a little bit and listen to
Yeah.
those internal messages a little bit more. Rebs, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the
Yeah.
top of the hour. We have Rebs Baigent Shaw for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio before we're going to get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear. I'm just going to run my dogs out, okay?
Okay.
On Spaced Out Radio, we love a good beard and mustache. So why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
The party is always on. The Moose Van Fever is where you can visit Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The most mindset the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right here? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man on Bumblefoot Paranormal, and I have a get the one brother is wild from Space Out Radio fan. It's amazing music and stories about what's going on in the supernatural. You can head over to our website, Bumblefoot, workshops, touring, you can check out some of the hot sauces that are listening to Spaced Out Radio. You know little brother is watching.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Dave Scott SOR, our Facebook page for Spaced Out Radio Show, our youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The Spaced Out Radio
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots
All right, I'm back.
Hello.
Okay, so when we get to the bottom of the hour break, just sit tightly when I say goodnight to you, and I'll say a proper goodnight during the break.
Okay.
Okay, we've got about just under 2 minutes.
Till we go again?
Yes.
Ah, excellent. Ah, got a nice little break. I'm sort of like sitting here in my top hat, ready to go. Yeah. Do you know, I should have mentioned when a spirit passes.
Save that when we get back on the air.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just chill then, shall we?
Sure. We get to we get to relax.
It's like take a breather, have a cigar.
Exactly. It's all good.
All right.
It's all good right now. All right, we have about 45 seconds.
Okay.
Big thank you to Fapster and We Are the Light for the super chats tonight. Really do appreciate the support. Thank you to everyone who's given us a thumbs up tonight and a thumbs down, and a thumb sideways. Don't forget, if you're brand new, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 15,000 by my birthday at May 24th. So spread the word if you don't mind. We're going to go live back here in about 10 seconds. So let's have some fun and relax with Super Rebs. Here we go, everyone. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Machicolation. Machicolation is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Rebs Baigent Shaw. She is an intuitive. She is a soul healer. She is very much about everything to do with Ascension. Out of Australia, her website is rebsystudio.com if you want to check it on out. Rebs, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
Very much like having you. We got into a pretty in-depth discussion here about the soul and transferring and healing and you know, listening to that little voice inside, and you wanted to continue with that.
Yeah, I just actually had meant to. It was actually, we will come back to that, but I just on a final note, I was sitting here thinking about what we were saying, just about souls passing over, just that sometimes, you know, souls actually have, they have a real hard time moving on, and sometimes they may move on and actually accidentally jump into another person. Just when we're talking about confused states of the soul. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that because I don't think I said anything about that. And, you know, it can be quite interesting because that's when souls get stuck, but they're kind of, you know, having a little piggyback ride, I suppose. And sometimes they can become attached to objects as well as houses and places. So I just wanted to chuck that one out there.
Excellent.
Yeah. also, just coming back to that little voice of intuition, quite often when that does happen with the soul that's passed, I will work with quite a lot of people that say to me, they'll come to me and they say, I don't know what's not right, but I just feel that something's not right with me, and so that is also the voice of intuition, when they know that something isn't right and they can't put their finger on it and they can't explain it, but that internal voice is saying there is something up. And you'll say, well, elaborate on that a little bit. And they'll go, I just don't feel like myself, or I've been doing things a little bit out of character. So their intuitive soul is still communicating with them and letting them know, hey, there's something is out of whack here, something isn't quite right. And sometimes just in terms of those souls that do pass, sometimes they can actually stay with people, not just at sites of bridges or buildings or accidents and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Moving on here, in regards to our own intuition and our own little voices that we should be paying attention to, that kind of guide us and direct us, how do we tell whether or not that voice is helping us or leading us down a path of destruction?
Okay, so it's like, if you think about the internal voice of the intuition, like what you were saying before, like if you do listen to it, then usually it's always right. It's always looking for your highest pathway, looking for the best possible outcome for you. I call it like your internal compass. It's always going to show me my north, the direction in which I'm supposed to go. If there is an internal voice, well, it feels like it's an internal voice that's within me that's saying to me, to go and follow a pathway. But in my mind, I'm going, well, that is insane because, okay, let's say there's a roller coaster. It's in front of me. My internal voice could say to me, get on that roller coaster. You'll absolutely love it. It will be a blast. So I'll go, okay, I get on, I buckle in and everything is good. Now, if that internal voice then went on to say, hey, no need to buckle up, you'll be fine. And my mind jumps in and says, don't be silly, you need to put the buckle on. Then that voice, I need to question that voice, because what is the motive and the agenda? I have a brain so I can decipher whether this information is in my best interest as well. So I'm working as a team with myself. My intuition is saying, sure, go for it, be fun. My mind's saying, yeah, that's okay, you can do that, that's good, as long as you know it's safe and that you do the instructions of, seatbelt on. And then this other little voice that's completely off par that's saying, no seatbelt required. Then I have to question that, because where does that come from? That isn't necessarily higher guidance. That's not the voice of my intuition. That's something completely different. There is, I mentioned before the voice of ego. Ego doesn't always necessarily make the best decisions, or otherwise we'd all be perfect decision makers all of the time. But it is one of our best teachers, because it often is how we learn our lessons in life, is by listening to that other voice there as well. But then there's external voices that are influences. So we have the voice of, I mentioned before, spirit guides. We have the voices of, say, our loved ones who've passed over. Well, they're there to try and help us and to guide us. But there's also beings out there that actually don't want to help us, and they want to see us get on the roller coaster without the seatbelt just because, So with time and with, that sort of development and that trusting, you start to realize what's yours and what's not yours. What voice is my intuition? What voice is my spirit guide? What voice is the voice of, my relative? And what voice is just an outside voice that's intruding upon a private conversation right now, No,
very, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
So that voice, that own intuition, what is it connected to? Is it connected to the soul, or is it connected to a higher vibration spiritually?
Well, see, if you think about the soul itself, before I mentioned like higher self. So you have, your soul is not just that one little aspect of you that's in this physical body. So your soul is vibrating here on the earth plane, but there's also aspects of your soul that are vibrating on a completely different frequency, you know? And so basically that is your ultimate source of guidance. That is the higher aspect of your soul that you want to try and bring more of that in to your soul part that is here, and to communicate with that higher soul guidance as well. So it's connected to both you here, but also connected to a much higher vibrational energy, which is then connected to an even higher vibrational energy.
Who's leading that, though? Is it a God leading that, or is it something else?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like I call it a higher consciousness. I call it like a universal life force energy. You know, I'm quite happy to call it a God energy. I believe it's all one, I mean, I was about to say one sort of circuit board, because to me it's like there is this one sort of ultimate creative energy, you know? So I believe that we come off like a circuit board, like so many different souls all kind of switchboarding into, like, I suppose you're going to call it the motherboard, you know? And that is that God energy, that creative energy, you know? And we are all like in a web. We're all in this web. And that is how I see it. And if you think of a spider's web without the horrible redback spider in it, but all those fine little strands that come off that can constantly become bigger and bigger and bigger and interweave and intertwine. And that's how I see aspects of the soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does that mean that when you say we're all intuitive?
Yeah.
How come so many people on this planet then haven't tuned into their own intuition?
I think that, you know, I mean, that's one of those things. I think I'm a firm believer that we have the choice for that. I think some people are naturally born very open, very connected, very aware, and very focused on living their life that way. And I believe that other people just, they don't want a bar of it, you know, they don't want to listen to that. They think it's nonsense and they think it's hocus pocus, and, you know, just that, you know, everyone's sort of a bit of a hippie that's into that, you know, and they are very in their mental mind. It's all about, you know, like we were talking about before, show me the evidence. If you can't show me the evidence, then it doesn't exist to me. There are people who live their life like that. A fact is a fact. If there isn't, you know, evidence that it's in existence, then it doesn't exist, you know, and that is just because they're really, really here in that sort of mental realm, you know, and they're not interested in intuition. They believe in what they see with the two eyes that they have, what they hear or what they read, and that is their reality, you know, and clairvoyance and auras and souls and intuition is just, yeah, not open to that.
No, very, very much so. Very much
Yeah.
so. So how does one go about, in your opinion, finding themselves, their true selves?
I think, you know, that really, I mean, to find yourself, your true self, is like building any other relationship. You know, if you want a relationship with something, if you want something to be in your life and to be really present in your life, I believe you have to spend time. I think it's a time thing. I think it's like if somebody wants to really, really connect with their true self, they need to first of all work out in their life what is in line to their true self. You know, quite often, you know, I've found the most pivotal things in my life have become when I've been out of alignment with my true self. I have to have gone out of alignment to find out what was true, what was working for me. So sometimes I have to know what's not working for me to know what's best for me. That's just my learning style, you know. And so for me to then find and to connect in with my true self, I have to be able to have really open conversations with me. You know, I have to be honest with myself and go, okay, you know, is this your true self, or does this just something that you want to hold on to because you want to make that work for your true self? You know, so sometimes you have to give away things that you really, really like, you know, to get onto that true self path. But once you get on it, you realize that those things really weren't working for you. So it's all about a bit of time with you. It's about getting honest with you. It's about, you know, putting in the time and the energy and the effort into exploring and releasing things that hold you in a falser version of who you are.
Couple questions coming from our audience here. John is asking, what's the difference, in your opinion, between intuition, the subconsciousness, and the higher self?
So the higher self, the subconscious, and your intuition, what's the difference? So, I mean, for me, your higher self is something that is an area of my life that I'm constantly trying to draw more of that down into this lifetime, you know. But my higher self is like my oversoul. It's more closer to my oversoul, which is the best version of myself. Okay, so I'm not living in my bestest version, because if I was, then I wouldn't be growing, or I'd be in denial. You know, my higher self, I believe, is my best version of myself, and it doesn't reside with me in the physical self. I'm incorporating as much of it into this part of me as I possibly can, you know, so it's part of me, but it's outside of me as well. Okay, so then my intuition is like the seat of my soul, and I actually find that my intuition sits, you know, like when they talk about that gut feeling, they say about that gut feeling,
yes.
Like the intuition, they say, is actually seated within your solar plexus area. So it's actually, you know, down in that lower part of your body, underneath your heart area. So my intuition, I find, is an internal voice. It's very much interacting with me in an internal way, as opposed to interacting with me in a more external way that I'm trying to bring more of it in. Okay, and then my subconscious self, was that the other part to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I find that the subconscious self is more to do with my mind and my dream state, and, you know, my meditative state, and those areas that I have from my subconscious, not always access to, but it's more like a doorway. So they're all interrelated, but they just seem to be positioned for me and work with me in different ways. Like some feel very sort of earthly, some feel more mental, and some feel very, you know, sort of spiritual. You don't have to be living a spiritual life where you're trying to incorporate your higher self to be incredibly intuitive. You know, you don't have to be an incredibly intuitively developed person to be able to access your subconscious mind into your dream state.
All right.
But Yeah, if you worked with your dream state and your subconscious mind in an intuitive way, you would probably find your relationship with your higher self would be stronger.
All right, let's get to another question from our audience here, if you don't mind.
Nope.
And I just got to get this going here because for some reason, kind of dropped out on me there for a quick second. All right, let's get to another question here. And Offworld Adam is asking, do you think our consciousness is our own soul talking?
I think that our consciousness is made up of communications from our soul. But, I do think that voice is in there, very much so. But I believe that we are made up, I don't feel that it is just our soul communicating with us, because the thing is that being a medium, I'm consciously communicating with spirit. So that I'm consciously communicating with you now. So I'm consciously able to communicate and hear multiple voices at any one time, and my soul's voice as well. So my soul's voice is a part of it, but it's not all of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And there's one more question here from Vinny, who's asking, what are your thoughts about the subconscious mind then?
Oh, what are my thoughts on the subconscious mind? I mean, I've got lots of thoughts to do with the subconscious mind. I feel that the soul and the higher self is a lot more able to communicate through the subconscious mind than the conscious mind. I think our conscious mind is a little bit more preoccupied with our day-to-day living and our day-to-day life, whereas I think our subconscious mind is the part of the mind that the soul is more able to communicate through. So I find the subconscious mind a beautiful place to spend time, whereas the conscious mind is also a lovely place to spend time, but it's also very occupied with the day-to-days and less of the soul communications and the soul connections.
That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We've only got about 2 minutes left with you tonight, Rebs, on Spaced Out Radio. And I got to say, I have absolutely loved your energy, loved your enthusiasm, and the love that you have in your voice for what you do. And I would love for you to tell our audience, if you don't mind, how they can find out more about you, your work, and how they could get in touch.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave. It's been really lovely. I always enjoy having a good chat about these kind of things. So, look, in terms of where people can find me, you've mentioned a couple of times my website, which is Rebsy, www.rebsystudio.com. On there, you'll find an email address, but I've also got Facebook. Not a massive not a massive out there social media person. I try to stay off it a little bit, but you can make contact with me on Facebook, either via Rebsy, which you'll find as a Facebook page. It's there on Facebook, or House of Stars and Mysteries.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun tonight, and you're a great speaker. You're very informative, and I love it when my audience can benefit from knowledge that you have produced. And I'm just so thrilled to have met you and brought you on the air for Spaced Out Radio and our wonderful audience tonight. So thank you so much.
Oh, look, I loved it. And I love some of the questions as well, because they've really made me think, because sometimes, I find that I just kind of I spend a lot of my time in the healing energy and just sort of doing it. And sometimes you don't necessarily think so much. That probably sounds terrible, doesn't it?
It can.
Yeah.
It can. But Rebs, I appreciate you coming on Spaced Out Radio. An absolute pleasure. And I cannot wait to do it again. I'm going to get you to hold on right here because we do have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. We've waited 20 years for this. You need to wait for the news on the SOR Newswire next. And then we got the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job.
Good job to you.
Love you. Love you. By the way, listener Vinny, who asked a question, he's wondering, are we single? Can he get your phone number and ask you out for a burger and a donut sometime?
Is he in Canada?
No, he's in the U.S. somewhere. So, I mean, it would be one hell of a commute.
It would be one hell of a burger, I was thinking, because he'd be over there and I'd be over here taking a bite. No, I'm happily married.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Sorry, Vin. I tried. I always try and help my listeners out. But,
good on him.
Well, thank you for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure. And you're absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And
so are you. Make sure you get that top hat.
I am going to get that top hat.
And the goggles.
Next time you're on, I want to see you on video wearing the top hat.
Oh, look, I would have put the video on, but I didn't know if I'd be a bit distracting. I'm a big smiler. I've literally smiled my way all the way through this. But next time, I think we shall be both in top hats
and
goggles.
Okay? I like that thinking. That's good thinking.
All right. Lovely.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care and have a great day tomorrow.
You too. Take care and stay away from those mountain lions, sir.
I will. Stay away from the great whites.
Okay, will do.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Isn't she just a bowl of awesome energy? Honestly. Corrence, the booking guy, you did well. You did well. Let's give Corrence, the booking guy, a round of applause for another great guest. Poor Vin. Tried to get you a date, buddy. Didn't work. But Corrence, the booking guy, fantastic again. Fantastic. Take a bow. Take a bow. That was fun. Hey, Super Quest. How you doing, buddy? Super Quest, I'm we're talking steampunk top hats tonight. I think you need one too for your music videos. With the goggles on top? Oh yeah. I think you need to get a steampunk hat, buddy. Top hat. You'd look good. You know I'm right, Roy. You totally know I'm right. I wouldn't steer you wrong. Seriously, who would be? Who would look good in a top hat? Joe Monk. With his beautiful mane and gorgeous beard, he would totally look good. He would totally look good in a top hat. Hey, Monk. How about you and me in top hats with Roy drinking a case of kokanee? How about that? You, me, and Roy hanging on out, top hats on, drinking a case of kokanee. I think that's one hell of a plan. God, Fapster, you're cruel. You are cruel. Okay, Spaced Out Radio Party in Vegas when it happens. We all need top hats. I think that should be a requirement. Thanks, Stetson John. You can wear your Stetson. Nicole Sackage would look good in a Stetson hat or a steampunk hat with the fingerless gloves. She's going to be like, hell yeah, I would. Hey, thanks, Nick N. All right, 20 seconds, guys. 20 seconds. Yeah, where you cut the fingers off on the gloves. Here we go. Third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking up to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's do this thing. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes it's like winning the lottery. You know, for 20 years, we have all wanted the cancel culture to come through for us. Why? Because PBS, after 2 decades, has finally listened to the public and got rid of that horrid, ought to be tossed out of every television set in the world, Caillou. That horrid show. And I was almost going to use an expletive there. Has finally been canceled. PBS Kids made the announcement on Twitter, along with tips for parents on how to break the news to children, but it appears that many are cheering the decision and are happy to say goodbye to a series that they have complained has been teaching their kids bad habits. Yeah, like if you don't want something, throw a tantrum and mom and dad will give it to you. Caillou first appeared on September 4th, 2000, centers around a precocious little boy who and his family, a boy who never got any discipline. The show ran for 5 seasons until 2010 when it went into syndication on PBS. It has long been the target of complaints by parents who claim the show taught their kids to be whiny and bratty, and social media erupted in elation, with several viewers celebrating the cancellation. One viewer tweeted a clip of the title character tormenting his baby sister and said, Caillou was one evil-ass MF. Another wrote, okay, but why did Caillou's parents never tell him to just shut the hell up when he had all of those stupid tantrums? My God, my mom would have thrown me out. Not all the reaction was negative, however. One viewer tweeted, so was I the only one that liked Caillou? Yes, you were. Yes, you were. No one else liked it. So finally, parents rejoice everywhere in the world because the little brat will never be seen on TV again. His little tantrums will never work. And now if we could only do it to the Disney Channel, where every adult, if you watch Disney channels, shows, those kids shows, okay, those kids reality shows or whatever they are, all the adults are portrayed as stupid and dumb. Like the minute you become an adult, you become stupid. Now, if we could get rid of those and follow in the lengths of getting rid of Caillou, like we have successfully won, 2021 will be a fantastic year. Fantastic year. We're off to a good year. Look, there may be some stuff happening in the world that we don't like right now, but by God darn it, with Caillou being canceled, the sun shines just a little brighter tomorrow, people. The sun shines just a little brighter. Be happy and burn all that Caillou crap and everything. We have won. We have tasted victory in 2021. Speaking of victory, Shirk, our news director, I knew she was going to throw this in. And I'm telling you, Shirky Poo, the United States had to play their best game of hockey ever, winning the World Junior Championships 2-0. Why? Because Hockey Canada, led by Tom Rennie, who's never won a thing in his hockey life, has absolutely ruined the Canadian game. The Canadian game is about blood, sweat, tears, hard hitting, physical play. But no, his love of the Russians and the Swedes on the ice and the Finns and the Germans and the Danish has ruined Hockey Canada. That's why we barely win under Tom Rennie. This should have been a cakewalk. Canada had 19 first-rounders on the team. 19. And we lose to an American team that played absolutely phenomenal. Now, I don't blame the Americans. They shut us out. They shut us out. You guys won fair and square. You played the best game that I've ever seen a Team USA play. It'd be absolutely awesome. Spencer Knight, the goaltender, 34 saves for the shutout, breaking the hearts of 37 million Canadians. Right? First gold medal for the U.S. since 2017. But I'm telling you right now, silver sucks. You know what silver means? You're the first loser. I would sooner win a bronze medal than a silver medal. Why? Because you go out in victory. It's not a consolation prize. Anybody who is a hockey fan of Canadian hockey should be disappointed. Should be absolutely disappointed. By the way, for you Americans out there, you're 4-1 versus Canada for gold medals at the World Juniors. Yeah. Good for you guys. Well deserved. I can take a loss like a man, but Tom Rennie needs to be fired. All right? Canada, I didn't think through a single body check in that game. And I'm pissed off about it. I am. I'm upset. Okay? You got to pay the price. When you're wearing the national team colors, you have to pay the price. And we didn't. We didn't. Good on you, America. You deserve to win that completely. We deserve to lose, but silver sucks. Okay? Anybody who says, oh, we should be so happy for our boys that they won silver. They didn't win silver. They lost gold. Okay? Call me old-fashioned. You'll probably rip me a new one. Thanks, Shirk, for getting me fired up here. Okay? You don't win silver in hockey. You lose gold. And that's the way it is. And when you have 19 first-round picks in the NHL on your roster, you should dominate. Doesn't matter who it is. But Tom Rennie doesn't have Canadian pride. No. He prefers watching the Russians and the European hockey players skate around like it's soccer on ice. Bring back the Canadian game, Tom. I know you don't know how. That's why you've never won a thing in the NHL. Oh, I could go off for another hour. I'm not going to bug you guys. Not going to bug you guys, especially our American listeners. Because you guys are like, shut up, Canadian. We won. USA, USA, USA. You beat us at our own game. We deserve to lose. Thanks, Tom Rennie. A man from Utah is facing up to 12 years in prison after he pled guilty to digging up graves at Yellowstone National Park while searching for Forrest Fenn's treasure before it was found by someone last year. Roderick Doe Claythorne of Syracuse, Utah, pleaded guilty to charges of excavating or trafficking in archaeological resources or an injury and or depredation to United States property, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Wyoming. Prosecutors said in a statement the 52-year-old was found digging up graves at Fort Yellowstone Cemetery inside the national park between October 1st, 2019 and May 24th, 2020. He was looking for Fenn's treasure, prosecutors say. Fenn, who died in September, hid over $1 million in gold, jewels, and other valuables in the Rocky Mountains more than a decade ago, and spent years posting clues online that led people on a cross-state search. At least 5 people died searching for the treasure, and there have been multiple court cases filed over the chest by people claiming they were misled or followed during their failed searches. The treasure was found in June by Jack Stoof, a 32-year-old medical student from Michigan. Stoof identified himself in an interview to Outside Magazine in which he said a recent lawsuit threatened his anonymity. Craythorne, meanwhile, was indicted by a federal grand jury on September 16. The hunt for Forrest Fenn treasure was often viewed as a harmless diversion, but in this case it led to substantial damage to important public resources, U.S. Attorney Mark Clausen said. The one thing about Claythorne that I'm going to say here, people, is this. How stupid do you have to be to think that Forrest Fenn would put his treasure in a graveyard, desecrating graves? How much of a moron do you have to be to think that? I mean, this guy was so blinded by the treasure that he tore up national monuments and graves. You got to be stupid and greedy to do that, and Craythorne definitely was. Let's just be honest. Canadian police officer investigating a witness report of a severed foot at the side of a road made a considerably less alarming discovery. The foot was a discarded mannequin foot. Delta Police Department here in British Columbia said an officer on foot in Ladner, pun intended, was stopped by a passing driver. The driver appears quite distraught and states that there is a severed foot on the roadside by the pump house. The Post said the officer went to the location only to discover the object was luckily not a human part, but rather a mannequin's foot. Now, if you happen upon a mannequin with a missing left foot, let them know where it can be found at the Delta's Police Department, because that mannequin probably wants it back. Here's an interesting story. The last widow of a Civil War veteran has died at the age of 101. How do you figure? Well, this is how it works. All right? It ended a remarkable life story that the lady had kept for over 80 years. When Maudie Hopkins of Arkansas died in 2008, it was believed that there were no known Civil War widows left in the nation. However, in December 2017, Helen Viola Jackson of Marshfield, Missouri, decided to tell her own astonishing tale. I never wanted to share my story with the public, she said in 2018. I didn't feel that it was important, and I didn't want a bunch of gossip about it. So, what's the story? Well, let's get to it. All right. Jackson explained that she was 17 years old when she married 93-year-old James Bolin in 1936. Bolin was a friend of her family, and the teenage Jackson was sent by her father to assist him in his old age. He was unable to pay for her or her service, and so he suggested they marry in order for her to claim his Union pension. Jackson, one of 10 children, agreed, but on the condition that she could keep her unmarried name and continue living with her family on the farm. Bolin agreed, and they remained married until his death on June 18, 1939. Jackson never remarried, had no children. She also never claimed his pension after Bolin's stepdaughter threatened to smear her reputation if she did so. All the woman had in 1939 was her reputation, she said. How weird is this? She goes, I didn't want them to think at all that I was a young woman who had married an old man to take advantage of him. Jackson's death in her story was confirmed by the sons of Union veterans of the Civil War. Yeah. Strange. Very, very strange. The story begins with Bolin signing up for his military service at age 18. As the war was breaking out, he fought with both the 13th and 14th Cavalry, ending the war with F Company. Missouri had both Confederate and Union forces, but Jackson spoke of his Union pension, suggesting he fought with the Missouri State Militia 14th Cavalry. Very interesting there. Very interesting. Let's move on, shall we? A Spirit Airlines passenger has been charged with felony assault for punching another traveler, allegedly because the woman's children wouldn't stop kicking the back of her seat. Yes. Deidrina Jaslyn Walker-Williams, 29 years old, admitted that she hit Natalie Hernandez 2 to 3 times with her fist after their flight landed in Portland, Oregon. This is all per an affidavit. Probable cause obtained by the media. Walker-Williams claimed that during the flight, Hernandez ignored requests to tell her kids to stop kicking the back of her seat. Also that Hernandez had hit her on the shoulder after one such request. After landing at Portland International Airport, Walker-Williams removed her luggage from the overhead bin and then allegedly struck Hernandez, causing injuries to her head and lip. Police say several witnesses saw this, but could not verify claims that Hernandez had previously provoked the altercation by hitting Walker-Williams on the shoulder. You gotta do what you gotta do, Walker-Williams reported to police. Per the documents, Walker-Williams now faces charges of felony assault in the 4th degree and harassment. A representative for the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office, which filed the charges, did not immediately respond for further information. Here's the thing. Control your anger. I don't care if somebody is there. Their children are around. Who cares about the adult? Think about the children and what they're going to see. How is a child going to feel if their parent is assaulted? Morons. Surrounded by morons sometimes. A cannon used by the Germans during World War I has been discovered nearly 4,000 miles away from where it was last fired. The cannon was discovered in Amherstburg, Ontario, where builders were bulldozing an old baseball field to make way for a new school. The town's mayor, Aldo DiCarlo, said the discovery was unusual because so many people forgot about it after it was captured by Canadian troops during the war. We've already received communication from a number of military historical associations that are interested in what we're doing with it and have offered to help restore it, DiCarlo stated. The historical significance, I think, just can't be overstated. It really is something. DiCarlo said the cannon was one of more than 1,100 other trophies, including howitzers, trench mortars, and field guns that were shipped back to Canada in 1922. The exact history of the gun is still being researched, but DiCarlo noted that it's possible it could have been obtained during the 1918 victory of Cambrai, 3,935 miles away from where it currently resides. What is interesting about the piece is that its breech lock is intact. DiCarlo continued, often, if an enemy was going to capture a weapon, the crew would attempt to sabotage it to prevent it from being used against them later. It appears, however, that when this weapon was taken, it likely happened too quickly for that to occur. It's expected that the German cannon will be restored and preserved, put on display. A number of artifacts from World War I have been discovered of recent memory. In June, a northeast Maryland couple found a live World War I bomb while digging in their flower bed. One family in England discovered a live World War I grenade that had been sitting on the roof of their house for more than 100 years in April. In February, a grenade from the Great War was discovered on the beach in the UK after a series of storms unearthed the object. And in February 2019, factory workers at a Hong Kong potato chip plant uncovered a German hand grenade from World War I that had not detonated either. Holy cow, that's scary. I think we got time for one more here. Yeah, let's go for it. Police in New Jersey responded to a McDonald's parking lot. Why? Well, let's tell you. There were a pair of chickens wreaking havoc and chasing customers. Apparently, they didn't want the McNuggets or the McChicken burger. Mac Poulet, if you're in Quebec. Yeah, so the officers arrived to find two chickens harassing and chasing customers, pecking at all sorts of car tires. Animal control came down, handcuffed the chickens. They've been taken to a shelter. No word if they will be charged and sentenced. Tom Reddy should be fired. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. I want details. Do you trust your intuition? And let's go with Marty, one of our favorite veterans, because we love our veterans around here. If you mean Intuition, you mean go with my gut feeling or let logic override it? Depends on the situation. Logic usually wins out in financial matters. Gut feeling always wins if I want that last donut or not. Boy, oh boy, 50-50 depending on circumstances. For the most part, yes. Dominic, yes, it's in the detail because it tells me you're a fabulous radio host and it never fails me. Oh, thank you. I'm blushing now. Davey, I do, but to hear your intuition over all the noise of the ego and the outside world, you have to listen very closely. That is a powerful statement. That is a very powerful statement. Let's move on here. Bob, I listen to it skeptically. Alex, yes, but it doesn't trust me back. Heck yeah, says Nikki. Saved me from imminent danger more times, for which I am very thankful and grateful for, whether that's been from certain human individuals, from physical danger, from hardcore spiritual warfare, or more. All right. Debbie, yes, I do. I've seen future events that sadly happen. I've been right on my gut feeling all my life. Jay, depends on how balanced my gut bacteria is. Well, that sounds kind of disgusting, doesn't it? Marty, more often than not, but I do check myself. Best ones are when I'm about to fall asleep. Jimmy, I think it's incredibly important to trust your gut intuition. That first instinctual decision before the almost immediate second thought is usually the correct one. Less a thought, more a feeling from my experience, and when I've trusted that feeling, it's been a rewarding decision. Intuition links into synchronicities because if you don't trust your intuitive feelings, you are less likely to notice all the little signs in life and instead brush them off as mere coincidence. Kimberly, yes, and my guides help me as well. And Gail, I believe life experiences play a big part in how we learn to trust our intuition. When you spend a lot of time challenging relationships, jobs, or environments, you learn to recognize that voice in your head and that feeling in your gut. It is a key to survival, and people can pay dearly when they ignore it. Caden, not always, but I'm learning to. David, when you feel something wrong, it usually is. Kira, enthusiastically yes, because it is usually spot on what is about to manifest in my world. James, absolutely, it's a number one survival tool for me. Gil, always, and it's always right. Evan, yes, but I don't always act on it. Lisa, yes, sometimes I wonder if you're just hyper aware of details that you are subconsciously trying to figure out. Finally tonight, we will go with Stephanie. It has actually saved my life on a few occasions, and the times I didn't trust it, I paid the price heavily. Thank you to everyone participating in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter. And thank you to Captain Shirk for the news, and to Rebs Baigent Shaw being our guest all the way in Australia. We got Mr. Rod Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, Twitter, at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on the Space Travelers Club on our website. You were all marvelous tonight. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right. That's a good show, everyone. That's a good show. Oh, headphones off. Yahoo! No more fucking Caillou. That little bastard can finally go off to the hell in cartoon land that he deserves. Oh, let's see here. Uh, Uh-huh. All right, what do we need here? We need to open that. Fresh here. God damn, Tom. No, Gail, I'm not getting sick. I'm editing right now. That's what I'm doing. When I talk too much during the day, my voice gets a little scratchy at night because my throat is tired of talking. I talk all day. That's the issue. So, no, we're not getting sick. I don't care. My download go? God damn. Where'd my download? Cancel that. All right. I'll be right back, guys. I just got to take a bathroom break. All right. Old Davy's back. Back again. Guess who's back? Hello, friend. Bonjour, Jean Paul. Oh. Let's edit this thing, shall we? Right, that's good there. That out. Could you tell that I hate Tom Rennie? Just asking. All right, let's do this. And let's go. All of our American listeners are like, who the fuck is Tom Rennie? All right. Let me know. What's my? Sorry, I'm talking to my business partner. All right. Oh, God. Thank God I don't have to work tomorrow. Thank you, Brutus. Exactly. Exactly. Tom Reddy should be fired. Dirty bastard. You ever see large bottles of Sasquatch Stout? Hey, Neil, give it a whirl. One, really? I'll check it out. Later, Vector. Thanks for coming on out. Been a while since we seen you, buddy. Good to have you back. I believe that. I gotta listen to this one. Hold on.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight.
Okay, that's commercial. I've decided.
I've put mine on. Is it? Okay.
I believe she had a near-death experience. Yes. Or she was just really familiar with them. One of the two. It's hands of town. The only Sasquatch stout you've had, Fap, is when you got peed on your head by a Sasquatch. Yeah, I went there. Peed on your head. Yes, they do, Vinster. In my world, they do. By the way, how many of you like puzzles out there? Hey, good night, Steam Tray Mark. See you tomorrow. How many of you like puzzles out there? Out of curiosity. That was Fapster, I know, but it still felt good. I'm not saying like puzzles like the 1,000-piece you buy or 500-piece or whatever. I'm saying like really thinking puzzles, putting things together, taking them apart. For the last few years, I've been addicted to this guy named Chris Ramsey. He's out of Montreal, and he's a magician by trade. But every Wednesday, he solves a new puzzle. And the puzzle that he solved today was literally like a $30,000 puzzle. And it was just insane. Just insane. This thing was wicked. I highly suggest you guys go check him out. Yeah, go check him out. If we hit $15,000 or 15,000 members by May 24th, I'm going to send my plaid logging jacket to Bomber. That's my goal. If we hit 15,000 subscribers by May 24th, I will send Bomber the jacket that she loves me wearing. It's all ripped, it's all torn and everything. You may drown in it, Bombshell. You may drown in it. So win one for Bombshell Bomber, so that way she can get my jacket. That's my Bigfoot searching kit. It's like a lunchbox. Empty inside. Right. Folder up. Bombshell lives somewhere in Ontario. Nobody knows where. He's on one of them hidden little towns in the wild Canadian tundra. Let's load this up. Time for you guys to get your verification codes ready. Oh, shoot, I forgot. Where? All right. Your 6-digit area verification code tonight is 754245. 754245. Make sure you use it wisely and verify wisely. By the way, we're going to have, as of tonight, I have to, because when I send stuff out to the radio stations, it only goes to 3 at a time, so I have to create another one. So as of tonight, there will officially be 2 different verification codes. 2 different verification codes on a nightly basis. That's how we roll around here, people. That's how we roll. If I can ever get some goddamn t-shirts for my t-shirt lady, I'd be real happy. Right? I don't know. Here, like this. What's that? I am getting wild with the verification codes. How I roll, man. You've never had a cell phone, Vinster? You lucky bastard. Will there be hot sauce consuming on air this birthday? There's a good possibility. I may buy some of the Bumblefoot stuff that's like 4 million Scoville units. That's pretty hot. Hold on. My birthday been on a show day this year? Hold on. Let me check. Yeah, my birthday is on a Monday. That's very cool. Yeah, we'll probably do something special with some Bumblefoot hot sauce there. I gotta get some first. Alright. Let's go to WeTransfer.com. All right, second verification code of the night, people, is as follows. 549-133. 549-133. Verify it wisely, because you definitely want to be verified again, because in case the first one doesn't work, you have some security to make sure you've been verified. Bomber, you are a cheater. Cheating girl. Bad. Bad. Holy cow, these files are taking forever tonight. Don't know why. We still have some snow. It's been warm, though. Unseasonably warm. So, on that note, everyone, we're going to say goodnight. Tomorrow night on the show, who do we have? The Hollywood Experience with Christopher Peters. This is a real deal, man. Like, his dad is a famous movie director. His stepmom, Barbara Streisand. He used to be married to Sharon Stone. Yeah, some big time fun for tonight, man. Big time fun for tomorrow night. So Christopher Peters is going to tell you all about the Hollywood Experience with aliens. It's going to be friggin' good. He has not had a big show appearance. He has talked with Grant Cameron and Third Phase of Moon, but we got him tomorrow night in his first long-form interview. It's going to be great. Mr. Cowley, heading off to your bed. Oh, Mr. Cowley, counting sheep in his head. That's all I got right now. Anyways, good night, y'all. We're going to have a good time tomorrow night. I look forward to all you being here. Much love. We'll talk to you soon.